Excited to have you guys with us. You can see that we're putting the finishing touches on the experience, on the building itself, as we prepare for the April 6th grand opening. But today is all about giving you all a look inside what we did in order to bring this experience to life. So who better than to have our very own Jason Surrell. He is the creative director for this experience with Universal Creative. He's going to take you through what this experience is, how he brought it to life with his team, and then we're going to let you guys go through the experience. So without further ado, Jason.
Good morning, everybody. Feels like a digital firing squad. Yeah, I just want to tell you a little bit about the experience, how it came to be, and then you'll have a chance to go through it for yourselves. We've been working on this attraction for a little bit over 3 years now, and it was an idea that actually originated with Jimmy himself, as he has said a number of times. When he returned to NBC back to host Late Night with Jimmy Fallon, when he took over in 2009, literally one of the first things he did was call Universal Creative, because he thought, okay, I'm part of NBC Universal again, they have the theme parks, I would love to do a ride. So as he tells the story, he had a video conference call with our president, Mark Woodbury, Thierry Koo, some of our senior creative leaders, and he said, I want to do a ride, maybe we could do something in New York where I'm taking people around the city and it'll just be really fun. And of course, our people, as he tells the story, we're kind of like, thank you, Mr. Fallon. We'll be in touch. Do you need Harry Potter tickets? Is there anything else we can do for you? But then, having said that, one of the things that we did immediately was we made him the host of our tram tour, our world-famous tram tour at Universal Studios Hollywood, which debuted, I think, in 2011. So he's actually been part of the Universal Parks and Resorts family for a few years now. But then flash forward a couple years, and as we often do, especially at this property, we felt that it came time to refresh Twister, Ride It Out, which of course had replaced Ghostbusters. So every generation or so we try to reinvent the experience here. And that time came up for Twister, and we thought, well, that's the front door to our New York backlot. This might actually be a great opportunity to do something with Jimmy. And of course it helped that he was the #1 rated host of The Tonight Show by that point. So in 2014 we really got rolling on what this experience would become. And one of the things that was really important to us was to try to find the right story to tell. I jokingly said that this was my first assignment with Universal Creative, and when I got that phone call, I was all excited. I thought, I'm going to hear, what name am I going to hear? Harry Potter, King Kong. And they said, Jimmy Fallon. And I said, what about him? And they said, well, he's going to get his own ride, and we need you guys to figure it out. And I'm like, we're going to do what now? It's like late night talk show doesn't necessarily scream thrill ride to people. So it was really important to us to try to come up with an experience that felt organic, that felt like it emerged from the world of Jimmy Fallon and The Tonight Show. So we tossed a number of ideas around, a number of different stories, a number of different scenarios. We partnered, collaborated very heavily with Jimmy and his team of writers in New York. They've been instrumental in every single part of this process. And it was really difficult to try to land on something that really felt right. So as you might imagine, our entire team probably watched hundreds of hours of DVR Tonight Show to try to figure this out. And there was one weekend where we were all just sitting around really kind of analyzing the show, and all of a sudden a pattern started to emerge, and we thought, wait a minute. The race, the wacky celebrity races that he does with a lot of the celebrity pals on the show. It gives us a vehicle, it gives us motion, it gives us a crazy route. So we came in that Monday morning and went to our leadership and said, it's a race through New York with Jimmy Fallon, only this time he's racing the entire audience for the Tonight Show Cup. That, of course, was inspired by the Hemsworth Cup on the show. Over time, he came to race Liam and Chris Hemsworth probably more often than any other celebrity. And Jimmy can be a very competitive guy, to say the least. And that gave rise to the Hemsworth Cup. So for us, it's the Tonight Show Cup, and it's the ultimate prize. And instead of racing around Studio 6B and the adjacent corridors, we blow it out so that it's a race through the entire city of New York, on the street, on the water, in the air, and even beyond. So we went up to New York, we pitched that to Jimmy, they loved it, and we were kind of off to the races from there. And then the other thing that we very consciously did is we made New York a literal, true co-star of the show. We get a lot of international guests here at Universal Orlando, and as you might imagine, The Tonight Show doesn't air in all of those markets. But New York City is something that pretty much transcends all borders. It's one of the greatest cities in the world with a lot of landmarks, so we kind of really leaned into that quite heavily. So even if you're not necessarily familiar with who Jimmy Fallon is, you're going to get to see Times Square, the Statue of Liberty, the Empire State Building, all of the sights and sounds and smells, make of that what you will, of New York City. And then the other thing that was really important to us, I mentioned that this opportunity came up because we're talking about the front door of the New York area of our backlot. So obviously this ride was going to be housed in 30 Rock. One of the things that Jimmy famously did when he took over the show was return it to New York from Los Angeles, where it had been for many decades under Johnny Carson and Jay Leno. And he returned it to Studio 6B, which is actually where Johnny broadcast from back in the day before he moved it to beautiful downtown Burbank. And of course, Studio 6B is in historic 30 Rockefeller Plaza. It's our headquarters of NBC. And it's really an icon in its own right. So one of the things that was very important to us, and you can see it all around you now, was bringing that landmark to life for people. Just because it's a TV talk show and not a huge movie franchise doesn't mean that we wanted to treat it with any less deference. For us, it was just as important to create a lush environment with a rich attention to detail as it would be if you're creating Hogsmeade or Diagon Alley or anything else. So that was something that was really important to us. It also helps with your corporate masters, when you're going to slap their logo on the side of the building, and it makes perfect sense because it's part of the story that we're telling. So I hope that's something that our guests really take away from this. And some of the sort of anecdotal feedback we've already received is that people walk in here and do ooh and ah because this really does feel much like 30 Rock does, and many of our guests will not have an opportunity to go to New York, go to 30 Rock, and even less likely experience a taping of the Tonight Show. So that's the experience that we're trying to give to people here. And it all begins at the front door. We have the iconic Art Deco marquee that we reproduced from 6th Avenue, the brand new one where Jimmy gets his own marquee for the Tonight Show. He was really excited about that. It was clearly the right choice for our front door. And then guests will come down a corridor where they start to really experience the Art Deco splendor of 30 Rock. Along one wall, we trace the evolution of the NBC logo so guests can get an appreciation for our rich history dating back to our debut, obviously, as a radio company. And then on the opposite wall, we have images from some of the classic TV shows that correspond to the decades to really create a sense of the rich history of what we've done in television. It starts in the 50s with the Today Show. NBC invented both the morning format and the late night format. Proceeds on into the 1960s with Bonanza. NBC was a pioneer in color television, and Bonanza, in addition to being a classic Western, was one of the first TV shows that was produced in color to take advantage of that in the 60s. 1970s, of course, it's all about Saturday Night Live, which would obviously invented that format. In the 80s, it's all about Miami Vice, because I can't think of a better show that captures the look and tacky feel of the 80s than Miami Vice. And then in the 90s, we have Law and Order, which I believe is one of 109 millions of that show that Dick Wolf has created for us over the years. And then guests come into this lobby where they receive their color-coded ticket, which is part of our virtual queuing system. It's all color-coded, and then based on the color of the peacock, guests know when it's time to proceed upstairs for the show. This is something brand new that we're pioneering. We've kind of jokingly referred to this attraction as a big science experiment for all of us at Universal, for us at Creative, for operations, for entertainment. As you're about to see, we really wanted to approach things differently in order to eliminate one of the most negative parts of the theme park experience, the queue. This is going to be a queueless system. We have a virtual queue, but we're taking it a step further. It's not just a matter of returning to your appointed time and just slipping right onto the attraction. We wanted to make the anticipation of the attraction a true entertaining part of the experience. So especially when you get upstairs, there's a lot to see down here. But upstairs we have all sorts of live entertainment which has never been done before to this extent. You're going to get to see the Ragtime Gals, and they will bring to life a number of the wonderful sketches from The Tonight Show, from not only ragtime arrangements of completely inappropriate music from the modern age to the history of rap, the history of heavy metal, the history of boy bands. All of those great musical segments from the show will come to life through the Ragtime Gals. And we have put together an absolutely unbelievable team of musical talent. I can't wait for you to see them. Because on the show, they're talented, the music works, but it's a bit, it's meant to be funny. And it's certainly meant to be funny here, but they are unbelievable musicians, and I can't wait for you to experience that. They also bring to life lip sync battle, so we really in classroom instruments, so we tried to bring the best of the Tonight Show to life for people. That also extends to hashtag the Dancing Panda, a very poorly and somewhat surly costume character who Jimmy abuses on a nightly basis, and we do too. So he'll be up there meeting and greeting with our guests, taking pictures, signing autographs, which is conveniently in the form of a hashtag. We're really excited for what this means, I think, for the future of themed entertainment, and I think this is step one. It's something brand new. We're really excited about it, and this progressing into what we're going to do with Taboo at Volcano Bay, I think kind of signals what's to come in the future of themed entertainment as we move forward. Then you'll get to experience the ride itself, which, as we've said, is a wacky race through New York, you against Jimmy. And then you'll emerge in the cleverly titled The Tonight Shop, where you too can purchase your own hashtag the Dancing Panda costume to entertain at children's parties, weddings, and bar mitzvahs. So that's kind of the high-level overview of what we tried to accomplish here. And obviously, if you have any questions, we can do everyone. You can see it here. It comes to these parts with their devices now. So we wanted to create a really comfortable lounge environment where they can charge their phone and also sit at one of our interactive tables, which are created in the style of Jimmy's desk. And there you can sample some thank you notes, some of which were custom created for Universal Orlando, classic ones from the show. You can access the Tonight Show website to get up to speed on all of his latest sketches and celebrity interviews. And we also have 8-bit video games, which we ported over from the Tonight Show app, including a brand new game called Jimmy Race, which is based on our attraction that was created exclusively for us here at Universal. So we hope that that mixture of things really creates a pleasant environment where people can be entertained as they're waiting to rise. Julia?
Okay, right. Well, so let's go. Yeah. All right. Any questions for Jason?
Not all at once.
Please.
Hey, so Universal has a number of great simulator rides. Can you talk about, both in terms of ride hardware and in terms of media, what distinguishes this simulator ride from some of the others?
Well, we call this the world's first flying theater, which is mostly story-driven. The idea is that you're going into Studio 6B for a taping of The Tonight Show, and then, of course, that theater takes off as a ride vehicle as part of the race. It is a new system for us, which I think does differentiate it a bit from some of the other experiences. But I think when it comes to both the motion simulator and the film experience itself, we always try to come up with the right creative solution for whatever property we happen to be adapting. And The Tonight Show obviously being a media-based experience, that this was obviously the logical choice to bring that to life for our guests, especially in terms of really bringing New York to life, because I think, as you saw on the ride, in many ways New York has never looked better, and that's a courtesy of Industrial Light and Magic. They really did a fantastic job with the ride film and rendering New York City. So for us, it was just a matter of it being the right creative solution for this particular project.
Can you talk us through the mechanics about how the virtual line works?
Well, the virtual line here at Race Through New York, starring Jimmy Fallon, it has a couple of different components. You'll be able to access that through the Universal Orlando app, which will be rolling out in the coming weeks here. And we also have the color-coded ticket system. And really, I think that's the next step in the evolution of the elimination of the line. We've known for years that that's one of the biggest dissatisfiers in our guest day. And we wanted to take that to the next level with this experience. And really, the way that we did that, because we discussed all sorts of things, going all the way back to the beginning. And one of the first questions we had is, well, how can we engage people digitally, with their devices? And it was a very conscious choice on our team's part to say, we don't want to do that. We know that some people are going to choose to sit in the Studio 6B lounge and check their phones, charge their phones, and we do have a form of digital engagement with our interactive tables. But for us, it was a very conscious choice to kind of restore the human element to that component, which is why we have the Ragtime Gals and hashtag. We wanted to take the time that we had freed up for them from standing in a line and further immerse them in the Tonight Show experience. And I think one of the most important ways we did that was by bringing the fun and the live component of the Tonight Show to life for guests, because we didn't want to lose that element of fun. We didn't want to lose that element of, really, there's no other way to put it, real life, you know, and it's really unprecedented in terms of live entertainment being presented in a queue lounge in this way. And as I mentioned earlier, it was kind of a bit of a science experiment for all of us, and it definitely took some convincing, you know, with our partners in operations and with entertainment. And it was funny because even some of our early talks with entertainment were absolutely brilliant. You know, it's Mike Aiello, Jason Horn, you know, all of your favorites behind Halloween Horror Nights, doing what they do best here. Even in our first meetings, they're like, you know, this is kind of unprecedented for queue entertainment. And we have to catch ourselves and say, but it's not queue entertainment. You have to think of this more as a show that happens to take place in this lounge where people are waiting. It may seem like kind of a fine distinction, but I think it represents really the future of what we're going to do in themed entertainment. Not only eliminating some of the hassles, but replacing those hassles with show elements that enhance and extend the experience, rather than just saying, yeah, you don't have to wait in line. Now it's, not only do you not have to wait in line, but we're going to use that time and that space to further immerse you in the experience and provide additional entertainment in whatever form that may be.
On the Today Show, Fallon talked about pitching a roller coaster, which is now the computer-generated simulator. I was wondering, how did it go from point A to point B, and which elements of the attraction actually were introduced by Jimmy?
Okay. It's funny because every time Jimmy says roller coaster, my friends in PR have a small stroke. No, honestly, the thing about Jimmy is what you see on television is what you get in real life, which means he's incredibly enthusiastic, incredibly passionate, and to be quite honest with you, he's just kind of throwing terms around. I mean, he knows what the experience is. It was never meant to be a roller coaster. That's just Jimmy being excited. And that's really an important point to make, because at Universal Creative, obviously we work with all sorts of different IP holders, all sorts of different creative partners. But with Jimmy, it is true. He came to us, and that's important to note because he loves what we do. And for those of us at Universal Creative, that is an unbelievable breath of fresh air, because they're passionate about theme parks, they're passionate about rides. And that was the first thing he said in the first meeting I had with him. And it sounds basic, but it's not. He said, I just want this to be fun. I just want this to be fun for people, which is exactly what the Tonight Show is. You know, it's just a good time. It's fun, it's positive, it's uplifting. It brings people together, and that's something that we really try to do with this experience. Much as I mentioned earlier with the live entertainment component, we wanted to keep that kind of air of positive energy going. And then, obviously, in the ride experience itself, that was really the only way we were able to take people on this kind of rollicking race through New York.
Anyone else?
Okay, so
A couple more questions, then we're going to begin the confirmation hearings.
A lot of the Tonight Show's appeal is about its topicality and how it's fresh every night. Do you guys have any long-term plans for keeping this attraction fresh as time goes on?
We do have a number of different ways that we can do that. If you've experienced the interactive tables, one of the components of that is a direct link to the Tonight Show website, and that is one way in which we're going to constantly refresh the material, because as you say, Jimmy has a new show every night, 60 new minutes of entertainment every night, and we want to obviously replicate that part of the experience for people so that it remains timely, remains topical. That's one way we can do it. Another way we do it is with the live element. You know, we can introduce new bits, new sketches, new material for the Ragtime Gals. All of those ways enable us to keep this attraction fresh and relevant and current with what they're doing up in New York on The Tonight Show.
Are there any Easter eggs in the attraction that guests should look for when they're experiencing it?
Actually, there's one big one. Jimmy's entire family appears in the attraction, his wife and his 2 daughters. So maybe keep an eye open on the left-hand side of the frame when we stop for pizza. So take a look at that. And also the 2 writers who collaborated with us on the attraction actually make an appearance at the very end of the ride as the grips that come in at the end. So definitely a couple cool cameos. And one giant Easter egg on top of the Empire State Building. You probably didn't miss that.
Have you, talking about the virtual queue, how do you educate the guests to a different mindset to not expect, okay, I'm just going to stand here and stare at the logo for 10 minutes while I wait to actually move around and explore?
It's definitely going to be a process because anytime you introduce something new to people, even with what we did with Express Pass, it's going to be a process in terms of kind of reacclimating the guest to the evolving theme park experience, and that's definitely something that we'll need to do here. And we'll do it on the app. We might even do it in the guide map. We'll do it with our operations staff. All of those folks will be on hand. So far, what we've seen anecdotally is that people are really taking to it kind of intuitively. You have some folks who are kind of like, oh, must line up. They want to preserve their place in line, and we have to educate them that we are preserving their place in line just in a different way. Other people are absolutely taking to it. They just go right to the stage to watch the ragtime gals. They'll go find hashtag. They'll charge their phone. They'll sit down. They'll relax. They'll engage with the interactive tables. But it's definitely an ongoing process, and as I said, this is kind of the tip of the spear, I think, in that regard, and you'll see more of that as we roll out Volcano Bay and as we start looking to evolve the virtual line concept in the future, but this is just the beginning, for sure.
Can you spend a little bit of the app? Are they going to be able to check in before they get in here, or?
Yeah, that's part of the reservation system, and that is different from the color-coded system, so you can do that with your phone and then return to the attraction at your appointed time. And that is part of this new sort of science experiment that we're rolling out, and that'll obviously be an important part of how guests can engage with this
So is
attraction.
that like the first step before getting here? Like
Yeah.
when they get here, they have to get the color code.
Yeah, well, the color code is if you just show up to the building and you get a time to ride. The app is something that you can do prior to arrival, and then that'll obviously ping you when it's time to return to the attraction. So it's kind of, one way or the other. But the most important thing is the elimination of the line, no matter how you do that.
Do we have a date?
We're still in technical rehearsal, so we're still trying to, work out the final details. But the luxury is that we do have a little bit of time, to roll these things out piecemeal, so that they're.
Yeah, and we'll be sharing a lot more information on virtual line at a later point. So.
Oh, I did think of one other Easter egg. If you look behind you, that Tonight Show, that NBC camera was actually used in Studio 6B for the Johnny Carson Tonight Show. So major Easter egg right there in case.
Are there any Twister or Ghostbuster Easter eggs left in the building?
In the building, no, we do have a little hidden tribute to
to
Twister and Bill Paxton outside.
Oh.
Are the artifacts, all the artifacts in here real? Or I noticed like the turban is a little different than the one in the photo that he's wearing.
Yeah, some of the artifacts are genuine, and then some are reproductions primarily because of the concern of over their historical value. The important thing about that was just to get them in here and get them in front of people, and one of the things that's been most gratifying to me as kind of a student of late night and the Tonight Show in particular is seeing guests of all ages, just going up to these displays and getting a sense of who Johnny Carson was and who Steve Allen and Jack Tarr were. Steve Allen, working with Sylvester Pat Weaver, Sigourney's dad, actually created the late night format with Tonight. So there really is a lot of history, not only with NBC in general, but with the Tonight Show in particular. It really invented the format, much like today invented the daytime format. So for me, it's really great for people of all ages to really get a sense of the history of the show. And that was something that was very important to our entire team, was really saluting the Tonight Show as the sort of cultural institution that it is, and it certainly is that. In its own way, it's just as vital as a Harry Potter or The Simpsons or any number of the other properties that we have here at Universal. So for me, it's just great to see people learn about Johnny and Jay and particularly Steve Allen and Jack Parr.
At full capacity, how long do you expect someone to be in this building?
I think we're shooting for around 20 minutes, and that was really by design, because we actually want people to get here early. Like, I don't want people to just come in and shoot up the stairs and get on the ride. I want them to see the Ragtime Gals and see hashtag and really experience all of the Tonight Show. And again, our goal was to bring the entire Tonight Show experience to life for people. And that goes well beyond the ride itself. The live entertainment is a huge part of what we had in mind for this experience from the very beginning. And it's an important part of the show, and I certainly don't want people to miss it. And that's, again, part of this science experiment when it comes to the virtual line. We don't just want to eliminate the weight in the classic sense. We want to fill that with entertainment. And that's what we're doing upstairs.
All right, so we're going to get ready to